Welcome back to the deep dive. You know the drill. You give us the source material, and we jump right in.
Exactly. We try to pull out the core insights, the surprising bits, basically the stuff you need to know without having to read every single page.
And today, wow, we've got a really rich collection, all from a top business publication, and it's all focused on, well, two sides of the same coin, managing yourself and leading others.
Yeah, it's a great mix. Some foundational thinking, some very modern challenges, how to ask yourself the tough questions, the surprising power of your own mood.
And even thinking about the really long game, like a 50-year career. So our mission today is to distill the most actionable advice, maybe some eyebrow-raising facts from these articles.
We want to give you practical ways to think about navigating your work life, whether that's really understanding how you operate, managing your energy, dealing with, the chaos of the modern office.
Or understanding the impact you have when you're in a leadership role.
Right. We'll look at personal performance, managing teams, organizational stuff, and that crucial piece, emotional intelligence.
Okay, let's get into it. When you talk about managing yourself, you pretty much have to start with Peter Drucker, right?
Absolutely. His piece, Managing Oneself, is kind of the cornerstone. He makes this fundamental point about the shift from manual workers to knowledge workers.
Right. Manual workers were told what to do, how to do it. Knowledge workers, well, we have to direct ourselves.
Exactly. And so Drucker argues, managing yourself isn't a nice to have. It's an absolute necessity for anyone working with their mind. It's about how you develop, where you contribute, how you stay engaged for potentially a very long career.
And he lays out these key areas for self-knowledge. What are my strengths? How do I perform? What are my values? And where can I make the greatest contribution?
The really crucial insight here, and it's kind of counterintuitive, is that you get results by focusing on your strengths and working in ways that fit how you perform.
Not by trying to fix your weaknesses or change your fundamental nature.
Precisely. He basically says, don't try to change yourself. Work hard to improve the way you perform. Maximize what you've got.
Which leads directly to that question. Okay, how do I perform? And he gets specific here.
Yeah, it's not just about skills. It's about your ingrained style. Are you a reader or a listener?
This one really jumped out. It seems so basic, but he claims very few people even know this distinction exists, let alone which one they are. And you're usually one or the other.
And the consequences of ignoring it are huge. He uses presidents as examples. Eisenhower, a brilliant reader, apparently struggled in press conferences where he had to listen and process on the fly.
Because he followed FDR and Truman, who were natural listeners.
Right. Then Lyndon Johnson, a master listener, kept Kennedy's staff, who were writers used to sending memos. Johnson apparently never really got what they were trying to tell them in writing.
Wow. So trying to operate against your natural mode,
Yeah.
it guarantees poor performance, basically.
That's Drucker's point. Reader trying to listen, listener trying to read, you're setting yourself up to fail.
Okay, so that's how you take information in. What about how you learn?
Another critical piece of self-knowledge, and often ignored.
Yeah, and here's a surprising fact from the source. Think about Winston Churchill. Apparently terrible in school.
Right, because Drucker suggests many great writers learn by writing. School often emphasizes listening or reading.
So different learning styles, like taking notes even if you never look at them again.
Exactly, like Beethoven apparently did. Others learn by doing, some learn by hearing themselves talk. Like that CEO who'd talk at his staff for hours. He wasn't lecturing, he was processing.
The key takeaway seems to be most people know deep down how they learn best.
But they don't act on it. And Drucker is blunt. Not acting on this condemns you to underperformance.
Okay, performance style, learning style. What about working with others?
Yeah, are you best as a subordinate? Or more of a loner? Do you thrive in a team or under pressure or...
That Patton example is fascinating. General Marshall called him the best subordinate the Army ever had.
But Marshall also said he'd have been the worst commander of an independent command. He needed that specific structure. Knowing that about yourself is key.
And then there are values. This feels like the deepest level.
It really is. You can be good at something, even successful, but if it violates your core values, it just won't work long term.
Like that HR executive. Great at her job, but her value was developing people internally. And the company valued bringing in outside talent.
The clash was too fundamental. She had to leave. It causes immense frustration.
You see it in companies too, right? The whole short-term results versus long-term growth tension that's often a values conflict.
Absolutely. And Drucker shared his own story, quitting investment banking despite being good at it because his values were about people, not just managing assets. Didn't want to be the richest man in the cemetery, as he put it.
He calls values the ultimate test.
Yeah. So knowing yourself is the foundation, but then you have to apply that understanding to your relationships.
Meaning you need to figure out the strengths, performance modes, and values of your colleagues too, your boss especially.
Exactly. How often does that happen? Think of the person writing long reports for a boss who's clearly a listener.
Because their last boss was a reader. They haven't adapted. They haven't observed.
Drucker's advice is powerful here. Be proactive. Tell your key colleagues, this is what I'm good at. This is how I work. These are my values. This is my planned contribution.
And the reaction is usually positive, like, finally.
Yeah.
Why didn't you say so sooner?
Apparently so. It just cuts through so much potential misunderstanding and friction.
Okay, so knowing yourself is critical. Got it. But even if you know yourself perfectly, if you're constantly exhausted and overwhelmed, it doesn't matter much, does it?
Right. Which brings us to the next big idea from the sources. Managing your energy, not just your time.
That's a key distinction. Time is finite, 24 hours a day. Energy, well, that's different.
It's renewable. It can be expanded. But the trap we fall into is just trying to work longer hours to meet more demands.
Which we all know leads straight to burnout.
Exactly. So the science suggests we need to manage energy across 4 dimensions: body, emotions, mind, and spirit.
And the key mechanism is rituals, like small, consistent habits.
That's the idea. Let's start with the body physical energy. This is the bedrock. Nutrition, exercise, sleep, rest breaks. Sounds basic.
But how many of us really nail it? The idea of an energy audit seems useful, honestly checking where you're falling short.
And there's this interesting bit about ultradian rhythms. Our bodies naturally cycle energy levels every 90 to 120 minutes.
And we get signals, restlessness, yawning, hunger that we need a break.
But we ignore them. We push through thinking we're being productive, but we're actually diminishing our capacity over time.
That Ernst & Young partner, Steve Warner, his story was compelling. He went from burned out to much more effective just by building in rituals like an earlier bedtime, short breaks.
Stopping drinking, taking walks. Simple things, but consistently applied.
And the walks. They mentioned that helps engage the right side of the brain, the big picture, creative side, while the analytical left side rests.
Makes sense. Okay, second dimension, emotional energy. It's not just if you have energy, but the quality of it.
Positive energy, enthusiasm, optimism fuels high performance. Negative energy drains it.
Right. And just like physical energy, you need intermittent recovery to sustain positive emotions. You can't be on and positive all the time.
How do you cultivate it, though? The sources mention things like expressing appreciation for others.
Yeah, that manager who made it a point to connect with his team about their lives, not just work, that builds positive connections.
And changing the stories we tell ourselves. This is powerful. We often default to feeling like a victim.
Blaming others, feeling powerless. But you can consciously reframe. The sources suggest 3 lenses.
The reverse lens.
Yeah.
What would the other person say?
Yeah.
The long lens. How will this look in 6 months?
And the wide lens. What can I learn or how can I grow from this? Using these helps shift perspective towards empowerment.
Okay, body, emotions. Next is mental energy, focus, concentration.
And the enemy here is distraction, constant interruptions, email alerts, IMs, phone buzzing.
It fragments our attention. The solution, again, is rituals.
Like Steve Warner deciding to check email only twice a day at set times, and setting expectations so people knew when to expect a response.
That takes discipline, but it protects focused work time.
And that E&Y tax team example, finishing under budget during busy season by alternating focused work with breaks, it shows it works even under pressure.
Prioritization is key too. That idea of tackling your most important task first thing in the morning.
Yeah, protect that first hour. Get a win under your belt before the day's chaos hits.
All right, 4th dimension, spiritual energy. This sounds a bit different.
It's about meaning and purpose. It connects directly back to Drucker's point about values.
So you tap into this energy when your work aligns with what you deeply care about.
Exactly. If you feel what you're doing matters, you're naturally more engaged, more resilient. Cultivating it means clarifying your values and making sure you allocate energy to what's important: work, home, community, yourself.
Finding your sweet spot at work, thinking about times you felt really effective and absorbed. What were you doing then?
That gives you clues. And Wanner's commute ritual stopping work calls 20 minutes before home to be present for his family. That's connecting work effort to a core personal value. He wanted to be there.
But for any of this to stick, the organization has to support it.
Yes, hugely important. Leadership commitment is crucial, like at Wachovia or Sony Europe, where leaders actively championed energy renewal. The culture needs to make it okay to take breaks, to disconnect.
It can't just be seen as slacking off, even in a crisis.
Well, the E&Y example suggests it's especially important then to manage energy through the crisis.
So the ideal is this new kind of psychological contract. The company invests in your energy, all dimensions.
And you bring your best, most energized self to work. It's reciprocal.
Okay, managing internal energy is one thing. But let's be honest, the external environment often feels like it's actively trying to drain us. This brings us to the overloaded brain idea. Attention deficit trait, or ADT.
Right, and it's really important they stress this is not clinical ADD. It's described as a trait that smart, capable people develop because their brains are just swamped by modern office life.
Turning high performers into underachievers. The symptoms sound depressingly familiar. Distractibility, feeling frantic inside, impatience.
Difficulty organizing, prioritizing, managing time, feeling like you're always behind.
And the cause is just too much.
Yeah.
Too many demands, constant pings and bings, endless meetings.
Exactly. It's the sheer volume and velocity overwhelming the brain's capacity to focus deeply. People feel this constant low-level hum of anxiety, trying to keep up, but feeling like they can't.
They make a point to contrast it with ADD, which is neurological, present from birth. Like the JetBlue CEO, Dave Neeleman. He has ADD.
But manages it by leveraging his strengths, like creativity, and getting help with the organizational side. ADT is more environmental, a reaction to the workload.
So how do you fight back against ADT? You can't just change the whole world.
You have to organize for it. Assume your brain will get overloaded and build scaffolding. Simple things like breaking big tasks down, keeping one small part of your desk completely clear.
Like a little island of calm.
Sort of, and managing the influx. Carving out distraction-free time for deep thinking. Batching email checks instead of reacting instantly.
That Ohio rule, only handle it once. Act on it, file it, delete it. Don't let it pile up mentally.
Prioritization is huge too. That end-of-day ritual. What are the absolute top 3-5 things for tomorrow? And then protect that first hour for the most critical one.
Tailoring your workspace helps too.
Yeah.
Music, standing desks, fidget toys, things that help you focus despite the external noise.
Yeah, recognizing what works for your brain. And another really interesting point, human connection helps.
Neurologically.
Apparently so. Feeling connected and supported actually helps your executive functions operate better, even under stress. So don't worry alone. Talk to people, brainstorm, delegate. It reduces that feeling of overwhelm.
The sources also hit on the organizational side. Cutting support staff forces managers into admin work.
Which fuels ADT and makes them less effective strategically. Ignoring ADT leads to burnout, mistakes, turnover. It costs real money.
So leaders need to step up. Name it. Reduce the stigma.
Yes, and match tasks to people's cognitive styles where possible. Foster a supportive culture. SAS Institute gets mentioned for its work-life support leading to low turnover. It's about creating an environment where brains can function well.
All right, so we've dug deep into managing ourselves, knowing the fundamentals, energy, handling overload. Now let's shift the lens outward to leading others, starting with asking yourself the right questions.
Exactly. Even the most successful leaders can get off track. The idea here isn't a magic bullet, but a regular practice of stepping back maybe every few months or when things just feel off.
And asking some really honest questions. The key isn't always having the perfect answer immediately, but the discipline of asking.
Right. Question 1, how effectively am I communicating the vision and priorities? Leaders often think they're clear.
But the team doesn't feel it. They hunger for guidance, as the source puts it.
Yeah, a study showed managers rank surprisingly low on articulating vision, even in good companies. There's often a gap.
That biotech CEO example is great. He realized he'd never actually written his vision down. Doing that, getting alignment on priorities, suddenly resolved major strategic debates.
And it has to be focused, not a laundry list. A manager was frustrated, his team wasn't focused, then realized he'd given them too many priorities. You have to make the hard choices.
If you don't communicate vision clearly, you can't delegate effectively.
Right.
You end up doing too much yourself.
Exactly. Question 2, how am I actually spending my time, and does it match my stated priorities?
And the surprising thing is, most leaders don't really know without tracking it.
The day-to-day just takes over. You become reactive. The suggestion is simple. Track your time for a week. Be honest. Compare it to your priorities.
Like the CEO working 70 hours, but finding much of it was stuff his team could do. Delegating freed him up for bigger things and family.
And how you spend your time sends signals. The professional services CEO who shifted from admin to client time, that changed the whole team's focus. Your calendar reflects your real priorities.
Okay, question 3. Am I giving and getting timely, direct feedback? Giving it is hard enough.
Leaders often wait for formal reviews, fearing confrontation or demoralizing people, but that delay hinders growth.
But getting feedback, that's even tougher, especially as you get more senior.
And here's a critical insight. Your subordinates often have the clearest view of your day-to-day impact. They live with your decisions. They might know more about your operational effectiveness than your own boss.
Which leads to the awful truth.
They know what you could do better, but there's very little upside and potentially huge downside for them to tell you. The higher you go, the harder it is to get honest feedback from below.
So you have to actively cultivate it. Create safety. Be relentless.
Yes, it takes real, consistent effort. And when you do get feedback, acting on it is crucial. It builds trust and encourages more honesty next time.
Question 4. Am I developing successors? This sounds like basic succession planning.
But it's also about retaining talent. Good people leave if they don't see a path forward. And companies hesitate to promote leaders who haven't prepared anyone to take their place.
The action is identify potential successors, maybe quietly, and delegate real, significant responsibilities to them.
It develops them and signals your belief in them, making them more likely to stay.
Last one, question 5. Is my organization designed for alignment? Meaning, does our structure fit our strategy and the current environment?
Because the world changes. Competitors, technology, markets. If your organization doesn't adapt its design, it gets out of sync.
Symptoms might be hiring the wrong people, having inefficient processes, incentives driving bad behavior.
Things just aren't working together to create the culture or results you want. The design is misaligned with the goals.
So you need to periodically reassess, maybe get outside help, involve employees.
Yes, involving employees can be really powerful. That high-tech company example, they got fresh ideas and identified future leaders just by asking people about how the organization should work.
Okay, beyond these structured questions and organizational design, there's something maybe more primal. The sources talk a lot about the leader's mood.
Yeah, this research is really striking. It finds a direct link between the leader's emotional state, their behaviors, and the actual financial performance of the team or company.
It's not just soft stuff. It hits the bottom line.
It creates a ripple effect. The leader's mood influences everyone else's mood and behavior, which in turn drives results, good or bad.
And this ties directly into emotional intelligence, doesn't it? Setting the climate.
Exactly. An upbeat, empathetic leader fosters trust, information sharing, risk-taking. A fearful, anxious, or irritable leader creates, well, fear and anxiety. You might get short-term compliance out of fear, but it kills creativity and long-term engagement.
The science behind it is fascinating. The brain's limbic system, our emotional center, being an open loop.
Meaning we don't fully self-regulate our emotions. We rely on connection with others. Our emotional states influence each other physiologically.
Interpersonal limbic regulation.
Yeah.
One person's signals literally change another's heart rate, hormone levels. In conversation, people's bodies actually start to sync up.
Remarkably so. Mood contagion is real. And interestingly, positive emotions like warmth and cheerfulness spread more easily than negative ones like irritability.
Except maybe low-grade anxiety. That can spread.
True. But laughter, apparently that's the most contagious emotional expression of all.
So the implication for leaders is, use humor. Be genuinely positive.
When appropriate, yes. It helps create an upbeat climate, but it has to be authentic. Forced cheerfulness when things are bad just feels false.
The big problem, though, is leaders often have no idea what their emotional impact is. This CEO disease.
Total blind spot. They assume they're coming across one way, but the reality experienced by their team is completely different. And they assume someone will tell them if there's a problem.
But people won't. They're scared or feel it's not their place or just can't articulate, hey, your mood is stressing us all out.
So the leader gets filtered information, or people just put on a brave face. The truth gets diluted.
But the good news is, these emotional skills aren't fixed. You can develop them.
Definitely. Experience shapes how we express emotions, and practice builds neural pathways. You can learn to respond differently.
The path starts with self-awareness, really understanding who am I now? how do others experience me?
which requires relentlessly seeking feedback. 360s can be useful not just for the scores, but the comments that reveal the emotional impact you have.
Like Juan, the marketing exec. He thought visionary coach, team experienced intimidating grouch. That gap is crucial.
Once you see the gap, you can make a plan. Identify missing skills, experiment with new behaviors. Juan didn't just read books, he practiced empathy by coaching his daughter's soccer team, volunteering.
Meeting people outside work, trying things out in different contexts.
And getting help is vital. Creating a trusted group, like those Unilever learning circles where you can safely try new behaviors and talk about challenges.
So mood matters immensely, but it's not everything. It has to connect with reality.
Absolutely, especially in a crisis. Forced positivity doesn't work then. The Merrill Lynch leader on 9/11.
Bob Mulholland,
Mm-hmm.
he didn't pretend. He tuned into the shared fear and grief, asking, are your loved ones okay? First.
His emotional attunement made his leadership actions feel authentic and helped people find meaning in that chaos. Mood sets the stage, but actions need to follow and resonate.
Okay, we have covered a lot of ground today, from the deep foundations of knowing yourself to managing energy, battling overload, asking the hard questions, the power of mood.
It really paints a picture of modern professional life, doesn't it? But it's
Wow.
not just about skills learned once. These sources also point towards the long game. Careers aren't linear sprints anymore.
Right. This brings us to thinking about second halves, continuous growth over potentially decades of work.
Drucker's take on the midlife crisis is interesting. He suggests it's often just boredom for successful people who've peaked around 45 but still have maybe 20, 25 years left to work.
So managing yourself long-term means thinking about a second career.
Or maybe a parallel career, keeping your main job but dedicating serious time, say 10 hours a week, to something else you're passionate about, like a nonprofit. Or becoming a social entrepreneur later on.
But the key is starting early. You can't just flip a switch at 50.
Exactly. Like that lawyer who volunteered with schools for years before starting his own educational venture, you build the foundation long before you need the second act.
And having that second interest, it's protective, isn't it? If things go sideways in your main career.
You have another source of contribution, community, success. It gives you resilience and options.
Kaplan's ideas on continuous growth fit here, too.
Mm-hmm.
Those self-reflection questions aren't just for a crisis. They're for regular maintenance. The world changes, you change.
What worked before might not work now. You have to keep stepping back.
This connects to that bias for action idea. Effective people don't just react. They actively shape their roles, pursue bigger goals.
They use their expertise to see possibilities, like Jessica Spungen at McKinsey realizing she needed her own vision, making partner. To stop just reacting to everyone else's demands, she reclaimed her job.
Or Saddleberger at Lufthansa, patiently building that corporate university brick by brick, purposeful action over time. Or Dan Anderson at ConocoPhillips, using his understanding of the managerial invisibles.
The informal networks and power dynamics to navigate and get things done. They're architects, not just occupants of their roles.
And Robert Quinn's perspective adds this almost spiritual layer, this choice between deep change and slow death.
Yeah, he argues that to truly thrive long-term, you have to embrace deep change, which means letting go of control, which is scary. He talks about the fundamental state of leadership.
Being results-centered, internally driven, other-focused, externally open, it's less about style, more about your core being state.
Exactly. Full commitment, operating creatively. And his insight is you've probably already been in that state during life's biggest challenges.
Like those Army generals in tough spots, or students facing major life events. You tap into something deeper.
He suggests asking yourself, what has my life prepared me uniquely to do that can connect you to your purpose and that fundamental state?
It's about accessing a different kind of energy, maybe. Like his example of teaching different styles. Same results if the commitment is there.
And learning from failures, like his own video course flop, is part of it. Choosing this path makes you a bit of a positive deviant, he says. It's exceptional, and normal thinking might resist it. It requires staying open when you want to shut down.
Wow. Okay. That really brings it all together. What an incredible deep dive through these sources.
We started right down at the foundations with Drucker Know Thyself. Strengths, performance, values, contribution.
Then we layered on the realities of today. Managing energy, not just time, across body, emotions, mind, spirit, and battling that modern affliction, ADT.
We looked at leadership through the lens of self-reflection, asking tough questions about vision, time, feedback, successors, organizational alignment.
And we explored the often hidden but powerful impact of a leader's mood, the necessity of feedback, even when it's uncomfortable.
Finally, pulling back to see the long view, preparing for second acts, embracing continuous growth, and maybe even accessing that deeper, fundamental state of leadership Quinn talks about.
So if we distill all that,
Yeah.
what's the core message for you, our listener? It feels like managing yourself and leading effectively today is less about just skills and more about profound self-awareness.
Yeah, and intentional energy management, navigating the constant noise, having the courage for real self-reflection, and seeking truth, understanding your ripple effect.
And planning for a career that's likely a marathon with multiple stages, not a sprint.
It really is, as Drucker implied, about acting like the CEO of your own life and career, taking ownership.
Okay, so here's the final thought to leave you with. Given everything we've explored, knowing your reader-listener style, your energy cycles, seeking that awful truth, thinking about your values, your long game, what's one small, specific experiment you could design and try this week?
Just one thing. What could you shift or pay attention to differently to better align who you are with what you do and how you impact others? What might happen if you actually started that today?